just read concludes the packet that we created. It is approximately 160 pages. So I just want to say that the packet itself would not have been possible without the people who signed the petition, without the students who submitted letters. And so we're really, really grateful for everybody's help and everyone's involvement. Daphne, thank you so much for your work. Where is she? Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to say that because we would have had no clue what we were doing. And so in putting together this campaign, I talked a lot about the impact of losing Dr. Labendz on the YSU community. And so I just wanted to say a few words about my experiences with him as my mentor for this speech. So, and I think a good place to begin is I graduated in May with a double major in history and religious studies, and my minor was in Jewish studies. And I was thinking yesterday about how if you told Lexi in 2017 that she was going to have a major in religious studies or in Jewish studies, she would have been very confused because that's not exactly what I expected to study when I first came to the university. And I think it's an example of my experience at YSU not being what I expected, but it being better. And so in 2018, I took a course on the history of the Holocaust. And for me, it was the first time I really felt like I was in an upper level history course. And I remember telling my friends and my parents and my family that there was this professor, Dr. Jacob Labendz, and his passion and insight and the care he showed his students was just nothing I'd ever experienced before. And I also said countless times that I didn't feel smart enough to talk to him. And I was like very intimidated, but not because of anything he did, just because his brilliance just constantly blew me away. And that went away a bit on the trip to Europe, because once you hear like enough of his lame jokes, you're like, okay, he's not that intimidating. And Brooke talked a bit about the trip, so I won't say much about it. But it was a life-changing experience for me. And I think even more important was following that trip, I kept taking courses with Dr. Labendz, and we formed a really important student-mentor relationship that really altered the course of my life. And so I remember having a conversation with him in fall 2020, where I mentioned that grad school was something I was interested in, but I wasn't yet sure if I felt ready. And I was just very exhausted. And living with anxiety is already very difficult, but living with it during a pandemic, and then trying to plan your future can just be incredibly overwhelming. And so he was the one who suggested that I take a gap year and just really focus on myself, and that there was no shame in that. And having that advice was the most important thing I could have been told at the time, and it was definitely the best decision for me, and I'm just so grateful. And I know all those things I thought about him when I first took his class are true. He is a brilliant scholar. He's an incredible professor who cares so much about his students. But for me, he's an even better mentor. And that matters so much when you're at a university like Youngstown State, where a lot of us are first generation from a working class. I spent the first 3 years of my life here pretending to know what a capstone was or what tenure meant. So I was really just faking it till I made it. So having mentors is so vital to our experiences here, and to think that the administration doesn't value or see that is very disheartening, because I loved my time at YSU. And I also want to say that this cause is very personal for me, but Dr. Labendz is not the only one affected. So there are so many professors like Dr. Mir in the Center for Islamic Studies who deserve this attention too, because their work is vital. And so I just want to say that the campaigns and the activism don't end here, because there are so many other people we should fight for, because if the administration's not going to, I guess it's on us, which is fine. And so I'm going to conclude by reading the last 3 paragraphs of our opening letter of the packet, because I think it surmises what we really wanted to say. So, the value of Dr. Labendz's position at YSU extends far beyond quantifiable data. His presence and expertise are an asset to Youngstown, especially as cultural and religious minority groups face growing threats from white nationalist movements. In a world still reeling from its legacy, in a climate that weaponizes the memory of the Shoah to make facile political and personal gains, Holocaust studies matter. In a world where individuals deny or debate the Shoah as an actual historical event, Holocaust studies matter. History bakes careful and sensitive inquiry, and through this analysis, teaches lessons in the present day that matter. Following the discussion Dr. Labendz led in the wake of the 2018 massacre at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, YSU President Jim Trussell sent a mass email to the YSU community that read, "We are fortunate to have nationally recognized experts such as Dr. Labendz and others to help us as a campus community in coming to a fuller understanding of the world around us, especially in these times when senseless acts of violence seem to be an almost daily occurrence. We are fortunate to have Jacob Labendz at Youngstown State University. As President Trussell expressed in his statement, he plays a vital, irreplaceable role in our community. Our representatives would be happy to meet with you in good faith to address these concerns farther if necessary. The end goal of our campaign, however, is quite clear. We hope you will consider the information provided in this packet and rescind the non-renewal of Dr. Labendz's contract. Sincerely, the Campaign to Save the Center for Judaic and Holocaust Studies at YSU." So, Dr.